If you have an interest in horses and love learning more about horses, the horse industry, teaching, or even managing your own horse business, then you're in the right place. We would love you to join us on our mission, which is to improve the lives of horses around the world through the education of riders, handlers, and trainers. So get comfortable, listen in, and enjoy.
Today we have Tanja Mitton back. Tanja's been here before. Expertise in the area of mindset coaching for riders. I'd like to welcome back Tanja. How are you today?
I'm very well, Glenys. Thank you for having me on again.
Oh, look, wonderful to talk to you, Tanja. You know, riding, it's not just riding, competing, personal development, but a mindset coach. I think it's just wonderful to, to have this expertise and to put it out to people. But look, before we get started, I do want to just remind people about the values of International Horse College. So horse welfare and safety are of utmost importance when humans have any interaction with horses. Within the courses at International Horse College, we only utilise methods that promote safe and humane ways of interaction between horses and humans. And we only support safe methods of educating riders, handlers and trainers in all of our courses. internationalhorsecollege.com, registered training organisation 31352. Now, Tanja, today we're talking about 10 reasons why phone coaching is so important. And, we talked about this a while ago before the current, health problems. Can you say why you chose this area? Why do you use phone coaching? Why do you need to talk about this? Because it's not an area that's, I suppose, talked about very much within riding. Generally we want to get out there and be with our horse, don't we?
Look, I think it's so important that we separate our equestrian field into two areas. There is a horse training aspect, but there's also a rider training aspect. And I think too often we probably focus on the horse training, not too much, but definitely a lot more than on the rider training. And mindset training is such a huge part of the rider training because it goes into so many different areas that not only give riders a chance to achieve their goals, but it also helps them to really, survive in this sport and thrive in sport more so. So I think it's hugely important.
Yep, riding and horses, even dividing up. You might have, if you're, as an eventer, a dressage coach, and you might have a jumping coach. And then, as you progress further, you might have a cross-country coach and a jumping coach. And then you might have a coach that's helping you with a certain horse or a certain particular problem. Or, it's not just that you might start off with one coach, one horse. But I think as you become more aware, especially competition riders, how you can keep improving and keep getting better. You have different coaches for each different area of, the areas that you want to improve. Yeah, I can really see that. I can really see that that's important. But phone coaching at the moment, thinking about the World Health and the restrictions put on place with our travel, with international travel, but even just gatherings, and I think people wanting to self-isolate themselves, how can that help? That's got to be a bit of a mental strain, but phone coaching, at least they're doing something and they can progress forward.
Definitely. The phone coaching, there's a lot of aspects in it that can, particular with what's going on at the moment, when people sort of bunker down and they can't go out and they can't ride or maybe they can't compete, and sometimes, the horse might be away and they can't get there all the time. It's a really good time to start working on some of those things that maybe are a little bit neglected normally, which is, just the simple goal setting, the becoming more clear on where you want to go as a rider, what goals you have, but also, developing a plan on how to get there. Because just having a goal doesn't mean you're going to achieve it. You need to understand the steps you have to take. And these are things we have to address off the horse, because there is no time and no place in a riding lesson for that. So that becomes an off the horse area that needs to be addressed. the other part of the mindset coaching, and this is where the phone coaching sessions particularly now work in well, because we often are a long way away from people who can help us in particularly specialized areas. I mean, I do a lot of coaching calls to people, all over Australia and even in Europe. So it's an easy way to get in touch. Plus, we all live busy lives, and particularly riders, their days are often so chock-a-block with, for professional riders, it's getting the horses worked, it's giving lessons. So to fit more into their day is often really hard. So the nice thing with a phone coaching session, which most of the professional riders I work with, we catch up at 8 o'clock at night.
Yes.
Get a chance, they come inside, they have dinner, they have a shower, they sit down, they relax, and then they can start to think about the areas of the sport that are equally important. And they can take time to really address some of those things.
Yes, yeah, and you have such a busy day. That is probably a good time, and it's a good time before you go to bed. You can, not be having nightmares about how badly your horse is going. I'm sure that you could be, sleeping better if you're doing this at night, just thinking forward and thinking about how well it could be going. Yeah.
And look, one of the things that often comes up in the phone coaching sessions is problem solving, because so many riders, it doesn't matter if it's an amateur rider, a professional rider, or someone who, just has a horse and loves the interaction and wants to get better. So often we come across problems that we don't know how to solve, and they are not always just riding problems or training problems. Sometimes it can be, how do I actually fit riding time into my busy life if I've got a family and kids and work and so many other commitments? So many things come up in phone coaching sessions that are often completely non-horse and non-riding related, but they have a huge influence on someone's riding.
Yeah.
So I'm often surprised what comes up.
Yes. I'm just thinking about, like we've got the travel restrictions on ourselves, but we've also had other times in Australia and Queensland, we've had a restriction. We had, I think we're the only country in the world that's had equine influenza, but we've been able to get rid of it because we put those restrictions in place to stop the spread of equine influenza. And then, of course, we had the Hendra, the morbillivirus that, when we first had it, we weren't quite sure what was causing it. So there were restrictions on horses and competition and travel and everything then. So, touch wood, nothing else happens. We get over corona and nothing else happens. But you're always more aware. Does your business increase because people are saying, I really want to just keep going and keep making progress, but because of the current restrictions, I feel like I can't do anything and I'm reluctant to take my horse anywhere and to go anywhere?
Yeah, look, I certainly do more phone coaching sessions sort of at the moment, and when there is a bit of a crisis, because also, and that's the thing that I really want to, stress here is we need to support riders. This is so crucial because, we need to support our riders in helping them when they struggle. If that's, often the professional riders, because they often don't ask for help. They're so used to just having, to deal with their problems and find a way out. But it can be such a tough industry because it can be a really lonely place. And what I constantly find when I do coaching and the mindset coaching is that riders just come back to me and say, God, I didn't really know how much I needed to talk to someone and how much I needed that support to just be able to open up, to talk about the problems I have, and then get really good sound advice and help without feeling that I'm in this on my own. That is such a big one because I don't think that we necessarily see that part in the horse industry, like sports psychology in the professional sport, in athletics and swimming, in tennis. That is already a huge part of it. Our professional riders and our ambitious amateur riders are often having to struggle by themselves or look for support and coaching and counselling outside of the horse world, which is sometimes a bit harder because, a counsellor or a psychologist who has no understanding of the horse industry, may struggle with giving some of that support or having that understanding of what someone goes through if they don't know enough about it.
Yes. No, I think that's absolutely true. You understand what it's like to be riding lots and lots of horses and get off and you're exhausted and you don't have time for this and this is important and you don't get a day off because you've got to feed your horse, So having that support from someone who understands the whole equine industry, I think that, that's an added bonus. You can get a mindset coach, but gee, if you can get one that, like you are, that understands the industry, then I can see that's going to naturally be a lot more support.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I've been a competition rider, a competitive rider. I've competed in Europe. I've started as a young rider, becoming professional. I've worked in numerous show jumping stables, riding full time in Europe before I came to Australia, and then started coaching full time. I've had so many hats on, different hats in this industry that I can, I so relate to the young riders when they have struggles with, trying to find this good horse that finally gives them the break. Or, the professional riders that just have those financial struggles that may have the good horse but just find it hard to keep afloat.
Yes. Yep.
There are so many issues that come with that, and I think it is important to help, and it's important to give that support because that's what an industry does. We help each other, we support each other, and we're there for each other.
I suppose it's one of the strategies. It too, you think about your plan. You might have an annual plan. You work out when certain competitions are. You're leading up to the big competitions. You've got, your young horse that you might want to take out to the easier competitions. You work out around what else you're doing, the best time for your lessons. But just it's got to be a strategy for, as a competition rider, to say, I just need to touch base. You may need to touch base with your mindset coach, on a regular basis, maybe more regular if you've got a particular problem, but probably touching base with a mindset coach, as a regular thing means that it doesn't have to be such intense training.
And look, a big thing is what I find with a lot of riders that I work with. If they're very competent in their riding and their training, they don't get that much help from other trainers because, in Australia, we have this issue with distance, and most of our professional riders, they are on their own and train by themselves. So it's so easy for them to get caught up in their head because they make their own plans. They don't often get the opportunity to sit down with someone else and just brainstorm that and get someone else's view. What I find with a lot of coaches is, they sometimes struggle with riders that they have in lessons because they may, those riders might have certain goals, and the coach is so committed to help the riders to achieve the goals, but somehow they can't get their message across, or they can't fully relate to a problem the rider has. And so sometimes there are clashes there and conflict. And again, having a mindset coach who understands the industry, I can often come in and give them tips on language or help them to translate things.
So you're helping the coaches, you mean?
Yes, helping the coaches to understand their students and their riders and how their riders might see something differently from the coach that the coach hasn't even thought about.
Yep.
So I often work, with riders and with coaches to try to understand the other one better and see their perspective.
Yeah, no, I can see that. Yeah. For horse rider combinations, and also just for coaches. Just because you're a coach and you're teaching doesn't mean that you don't need that anyway.
No, and we don't get, a huge amount of personal development training as a coach.
Yes.
And personal development gives us the tools and the understanding to sometimes remove ourselves from a situation and give us the understanding how to look at a problem from different angles.
Yeah.
Because, there's a beautiful quote, and I mean, as you know, and as probably many of our listeners sort of know, I do put those regular quotes on Facebook. So over the years, I've come across some really good ones. In one quote, and it's an Albert Einstein quote, it says, you can't solve a problem with the same way of thinking that has created the problem.
Yes.
And that is so true.
Yeah.
And, when we get into our head and we've created a problem, we often can't see the solution because we don't know how to step out of our way of thinking in order to see the solution. And this is where the mindset coaching is so, so crucial, because I can help riders and coaches to just see a different way and look at it from a different angle so that they can find their solutions and their way forward themselves. And that makes a huge difference.
Yeah. And I'm thinking budget-wise, you always want to spend as less money. It's not spending less money, it's getting value, So you're paying a coach a certain amount, but if you're working with someone over the phone or over the internet, we've got some great software that can help set up group calls. They're not having to do that travel. So for you to go and travel and watch a session and talk to them afterwards and everything else, that would work out fairly expensive for them. But if there's less time and less travel and people can contact you, from all over the world, really, as long as you get your time zones right, there's got to be less cost. So if there's less cost, I know it might be, you might think it's an additional cost, but if it's going to contribute and improve the value of what you're doing within your lessons, and you think of budgeting strategies, it's still got to be better value. It's not less cost, it's better value to have the coaching on the phone.
Absolutely. And it is essential because, look, every successful business has a business coach. Every successful athlete has a mindset coach or a sports psychologist on their team, because our head plays such a huge part of our, of the results that we get. And we all know what it's like. You can have had the best training, the best preparation before a competition. You go to the comp, you get nervous, you start to get in your head, you doubt yourself, you start worrying, and all of a sudden you ride completely different.
Yeah.
So the outcomes have such a huge, influence, or our way of thinking has a huge influence on our outcome. So to me, mindset coaching is a crucial part of training.
Yeah. Yes, and improving those competition results as well. Yeah.
Yeah, because if I can ride at a competition the same way as I ride at home, then there is a massive benefit.
Yes. What about, I'm just thinking, because we're focused on horses and riding, and that's the main reason you'd get a mindset coach. But do you find you've got additional benefits, just to improve their personal development themselves as a person, improve their courage in other areas? Do you find you get those as additional results, like additional benefits? Yeah.
Absolutely. We've recently, like at the end of last year, we've had 3 very tragic suicides all over the world, 1 in Germany and 2 in the US, from professional riders that just couldn't cope with the pressure with their daily life. And that is the non-competition part of mindset coaching where it is so important. It's
Yes.
helping people to, to find answers and to help them and support them with their own personal development, but still keeping it relevant to our sport, which, let's face it, we horse people are a bit crazy, and horses are our life. So, with mental health being on the increase and so many people are struggling, and again, we're going through a situation at the moment that will put a lot of pressure on individuals, on businesses, on finances, on, their ability to go to competitions, to qualify, or just to have their relaxation time with their horse. All of that will have an effect on mental health. Again, this is where the mindset coaching, it's not just about improving your competition results or, becoming, a better coach and being able to sort of deal with your students or developing your coaching business.
Yep.
A lot of the time people ring me for those reasons, but then as we start talking, we come into the personal aspect. And, people start to open up as they feel comfortable. And a lot of times, it ends up in a call that is more about their personal life and sometimes personal struggles, that when I can help them, again, with just finding different ways of looking at it, even just being able to talk about it and getting out of their head and connecting more to, to their hearts, to their passion, the things that they really want to do, it makes such a big difference.
And sometimes you can have someone, just from a business point of view, to say, why are you doing that way and you're spending so much money on that and this is a better option, and that itself is going to relieve the pressures. And I think this is why it's so important to have someone that understands the industry as a mindset coach, because they can just with experience just come in and give you an extra insight into the industry that they may have had.
I think it is. Yes, yeah. Absolutely.
Now, Tanja, I know that you do this, and I'm sure that there are other mindset coaches around that, that people, and I would urge you to see if you know a mindset coach, or if you wanted to contact Tanja. Tanja, just checking, I know that you used to have a free 20-minute phone chat where people can get to know you before they say, yes, I'd like you to be, my mindset coach. Are you still happy to do that?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, that's good.
I have sort of different programs where, people can go into what I call a coaching program, where we have regular coach calls and catch-ups over a period of time. But people can also just always ring me for just a one-off chat and a one-off coaching session. So there's no lock-in contract. People don't have to sign up and can't get out. There's so many different options that I offer, and that people can take advantage of. That really what suits the individual.
And then what way do you normally do it? Do you normally call someone on the phone? Do you use Skype? How do you work that?
No, I call them on the phone.
Okay. And really, there's no restriction. We just got to work. With no restriction, you can go anywhere in the world.
Yep.
What other language do you speak besides English? Because
German.
I was going to say, because you're not just restricted to English speakers. English or German would be all right. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And I've got a few people in Germany.
Yes. So now your email, Tanja, it's Tanja @tanjamitton.com, but those details will be on Horse Chats anyway. So they'll be on Horse Chats. Just go and search for Tanja, Tanja, or Mitton, Mitton, and probably even if you put in mindset, that your page would come up for this chat, and just down the bottom of the page there, all the contact details are there. But Tanja, if people would like to contact you now and the page isn't published, what's your phone number?
My number is 041 079891319.
Perfect, and that's an Australian number. Yeah, and don't ring Tanja in the middle of the night. Okay.
Well, I've had some of those too, so if
Yes,
it has to be, it has to be.
People do worry. Actually, I was chatting to someone early and they said, "Oh, sorry for waking you up." And they said, No, it's okay. It's all right. Yeah. Okay.
Yes, we do get time difference as well sometimes.
Yes. All right. And it's great to talk to you. You know, we talk about simple, easy to follow concepts, and I think, I think you're right in the money there. You're just going to be a wonderful help to people. You know, if people are thinking about reasons, you know, not just I've got to go out there and do it again and again and again. I've got to practice harder and harder and harder. Sometimes it's just improving the quality of the practice, and talking to a mindset coach can help you with that.
Yeah, and it's got to be simple,
Yes.
just simple things that people can relate to and that are easy for them, and everyone is different. I always work with the individual to find out what fits in with them, what's easy for them, and what they can relate to so that they do get the best results.
Perfect. All right, great to talk to you, and I'm looking forward to catching up with you again for another chat.
Thank you so much, Glenys. Appreciate it.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
If you've enjoyed this chat, then please comment, rate and subscribe. If you'd like any changes or recommendations for guests, then please contact us through horsechats.com. And while you're online, have a look at the government-accredited courses at internationalhorsecollege.com. Registered Training Organisation 31352.
Remember that our comments and instructions are general in nature and do not take into consideration your individual horses or your individual ability and circumstances. If you enjoyed this podcast, then please leave your comment below.